Have you checked the children? You're a little mad sometimes.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Sometimes. That is better.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Horror Show. I'm Cecil Laird.
And you got Jaime and Fuego here.
And we are back to review another Stranger Things comic book, you guys. Now, the last two that we've done were each 4-issue series, and there is actually a sequel to Stranger Things 6 in the works. The first issue has come out, but in the middle of that, they dropped this little one-shot, little mini graphic novel, Stranger Things Zombie Boys.
Zombie Boys!
And you can see there kind of a cool artwork. The creative team is also listed there. Greg Pak, by the way, is a big comic book writer. He's the one that wrote all of the World War Hulk storyline.
Yeah, it has some creds on the back, man, of just all the different peeps that were in on the very back of the right there.
Oh yeah, so Greg Pak, Mech Code, The Incredible Hulk, Star Wars: Age of Rebellion.
Damn, yeah, that's right.
And
yeah,
drawn by Valeria Favoccia, which she did Assassin's Creed Reflections and Doctor Who: The 10th Doctor. Which is cool. That is, I like the 10th Doctor. He's my favorite Doctor. But
yeah, and the biggest thing here for me, as I was first even approaching this, is the fact that they had the same writer and artist behind the last two Stranger Things comic series, and they're okay, you know. I mean, Will's story in the first volume was pretty good, you know, but it was just very much.
I like that one a lot.
It was good, but it was still just like grazing over a lot of different things and making occasional correlations with like beats on one end versus beats in the upside down. Second one, though, it employed a similar grazing over, and yet since it was stuff we hadn't necessarily seen before, as far as like characters and whatnot, they seemed less fleshed out. And even if getting a lighter story, they, you know, it's not like we had a TV series to have given them so much more just levity, I guess. And this having a fresh take and, you know, like cool, just very boys being boys sort of thing, dude, I really love this, actually.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this too. This is a epilogue of sorts to the first season. It hasn't gotten to the second season, and because the first series took place during the first season, it was just Will's side of the story. And then there was one little free comic book day issue, which was post first season, and this is, I think, this would be post that as well. So Mike is still waiting for 11 to try and come back, checking in on her little, you know, fort in his basement. But meanwhile, the four guys are trying to get back in the swing of things with Will, and it's assisted by the arrival of a new student who happens to be very much into filmmaking.
Yeah, so it's an Asian American kid, and he has just transferred from San Francisco, actually. And it's so funny. There's one scene in particular where he's talking with their teacher in the AV club, and he's like, "Oh, so is that the new Betamax? You're obviously a fan of filmmaking," and so on and so forth. And he's like, "No, I don't like film. I like movies, because movies move. And if you want somebody to actually be compelled with the story that you're telling, it has to move. It has to do things, man." And that really spoke to me. And it was very simple language. He's wearing the Jaws shirt when he walks into the AV club and stuff. And
you can see that, yeah, everyone, all the familiar faces. So obviously the same four boys, and then the teacher that we know very well from the show as well. Yeah. That's all good stuff. But yeah, it starts off from Will's perspective, and we see kind of
the whole
drawings,
notebook.
Yeah, the notebook representations of kind of what happened in the past, and it's just really neat how the artist chose to open the book. But yeah, this book is basically the Super 8 of the Stranger Things universe.
It's what I thought of the whole time I was watching it, man, because I love Super 8, directed by JJ, right? JJ Abrams?
Yep, JJ Abrams.
Yeah, great movie, man.
And so, yeah, they quickly take this guy sort of into their crew in order to make a movie. He actually suggests making a movie based on the drawing because people have started to call Will Byers Zombie Boy. That, of course, being because he was dead. He was declared dead in the first season.
They had a physical corpse and everything.
They found a body and everything, and then he comes back to life. And so they didn't even touch on that in the shows, any of the seasons, how that might have affected him amongst his classmates. And so people are calling him Zombie Boy, and so this kid shows up. He heard the story of Zombie Boy, and so he's like, let's screw it. Let's make a movie about it. So continuing the story, where else does it go, Fuego?
Oh, well, from there, it's them essentially trying to not only see just how disturbed Will still is, you know, and we do get the Paul Reiser character at one particular point here from season 2, which is interesting. So even though this takes place in between 1 and 2, we get tastes of characters from 2 and in 1 very quick beat from 3, which is very fun, you know, and so it's acknowledging all of those different, you know, iterations of the show so far, and it really turns into this new student running with the idea and saying, yes, we're going to make our own movie on the Betamax. We're going to make our own gore effects. They have a scene where they're trying to make blood and they think it looks too red.
And Dustin's like, it can never be too red.
Yeah, which is funny. And there's another part where they're just like, do you guys ever feel like a little depressed and sad? Like there's stuff you want to talk about after everything that happened last year? And they're all like, no. And Will does want to talk about it. But then Dustin is like, well, I'm never really sad or upset at all. I'm always feeling fine. And so that's cool. But and
they venture into the woods.
Yep, to actually film it. And one cool thing that they really do is that Dustin and the new kid both have some racial stuff. Like this is much more than I was expecting from this. You know,
not only the new kid, but our boy here as well.
Well, yeah, Dustin, right? That's his name.
No,
right?
Dustin's the one with the hat.
Oh, God damn it, I'm a dumbass. Okay,
Lucas.
Luke.
Lucas is the black one.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
so Lucas deals with
I feel like a dumbass now.
with racial issues, but no, Dustin was the one with the
I know, but
too red. This one right
I
here.
feel like a
That's
dumbass.
okay. Don't worry about it. It's all right. Everyone. Look, it's happened to us all. Fuego. We're all we have aging brains.
Yeah.
So yeah, they unfortunately, he's dealing with racial issues along with the new kid, so they commiserate on that.
Yeah,
right?
well, they're calling Lucas Midnight and all this crappy stuff, and then they're also talking about, oh, new kid, do you know Kung Fu, so on and so forth. And he's like, yeah, actually, I studied at Bruce Lee's dojo in San Francisco.
Yeah,
what
right
up,
here.
you know?
And it's but they bond over it, and it's nice. They acknowledge that this stuff actually existed in this day and age. I mean, it still exists today, so it's appropriate.
Well, and they also talk about the fact that there's the trope in so many of those 80s horror movies that the black guy dies first, and they bond over the fact that he's like, no, the black guy does indeed die in the original Night of the Living Dead, but he's the hero, and he's the last to die. Yeah, exactly. And so they try to, since they're making a zombie movie, for God's sake.
Well, no, but the nice thing is they commiserate even further because the new kid says, but don't worry, we're not going to fall into any of that trope. You're not going to die because we're not going to play into any of those, you know. And so they acknowledge, like, yeah, this stuff doesn't happen, but we don't have to play into those stereotypes. Yeah. And then you see Will is still just trying to process things as you see, this is his mom, played by Winona Ryder, of course, Joyce.
Yes.
The mother. So
once again, reaching for names, man. When you discuss so many names
luckily, I'm remembering them somehow. Except I don't remember the new kid's name. I remember all the names from the kids in the actual show. But yeah, so they continue to make the movie, and ultimately they bond and learn about each other. And again, these two have the biggest bond of the whole thing. It seems like
they have a really cool bit though, where director kid is basically like, you need to summon and just go to the sadness and these bad prior experiences and use that as fuel to act well. And you get some stuff from all of the respective participants. Although from Dustin, it's funny because he breaks down and cries as opposed to like getting up and like yelling and stuff. And then when you ask for inspiration from Will, when it transpires, it's actually a little prelude to what we see in season 2, where he was having the flashovers to the Upside Down. It's near the end of the comic. Like when they're filming, he immediately sees himself in that reddened area of crazy, and then all the other boys, the director's like, that's awesome, that's great, and the other kids are like, no, he's not acting.
No, don't,
don't.
So you jumped ahead a little bit, but
sorry.
There's this amazing shot that's like the Right Stuff shot, but for the comic, where the director kid is leading the way, and they're all following in their bikes, and they're headed out
and he's
to film the last shot. So let's make some magic,
Well, and also where he's like, we're gonna film this thing in sequence, we're not gonna jump around, and so on and so forth, and Lucas is like, don't they film movies out of order, one scene from one angle, one scene from another? And he's like, those people have money, we don't have that ability.
But the nice thing is that Will is basically tapping into his dreams in order to help write the script, and he hands the pages to the kid, and he's like, I love it, these are great, and Will basically is like, all right, so this is his way to confront what's been going on, with his own issues,
Yeah.
and so
And the
they
demons
start to
still
film
lingering.
the movie,
Yeah.
and they have fun with it.
Yeah.
And they still just have conversations about how they're dealing with things, and like you said, that moment where Will has the flashback, they all end up sort of gathering around each other and showing support and everything. And it's just really, really nice how this whole thing plays out. It plays out like a really good, like if they did like a between season episode,
No.
that would be a Christmas
I
episode
was
for
gonna
anything
say,
else.
You're thinking of Sabrina. where they
Exactly,
did that,
where you do the bridge.
Another
well,
Netflix
Doctor
property.
Who has done that a bunch of
They
times
have.
too. So in between
Yeah.
seasons, they'll do a Christmas episode.
And even though they're all one shots, I mean, even.
But
Black
this would
Mirror
make a
did it, so-
perfect, bridge episode and stuff like that.
Yeah,
And
as far as like a one note kind of just encapsulated.
then they
sort
show
of
the
thing.
film in school, of course.
Yes, yeah, indeed. And as far as an encapsulated, just singular thing, this was so much better than the one comic book day and free comic book day, whatever bit with Nancy
With Mike and Nancy and
yeah.
yeah.
That, like this actually had something to say, and I was surprised at the fact that it delved into those racial aspects. It went for things I wasn't expecting it to. Still, it's not like heavy on the dialogue aspect, but it's heavy on some of the ideas that they put forth. And I'm just a sucker, as I know you are too, for any story about trying to make a movie.
Oh, yeah.
Whether it's Bowfinger, whether it's this past year's Dolomite Is My Name, all kinds of different things. I mean, if it's a story about trying to
Chasing Amy, Jane
make a
Silent
film.
Bob reboot.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's it has just that warm place in my heart.
I'm sorry,
and
Jane and Silent Bob Strike
Strike
Back and
Back,
Jane
yeah.
Silent Bob's reboot.
Yeah.
I'm thinking Chasing Amy because there was a sequel to Chasing Amy in Reboot. So,
Yeah,
but
but-
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's like very much Super 8 in every possible way, and I love the hell
In
out
all
of
the
that
best
film.
ways.
In all the best ways, because that's kind of a flawed film in some ways, but the stuff with the kids, and especially where you see their actual film in the end credits, it's good.
It is. It's fun. So I think that's going to do it for our review of Stranger Things Zombie
Zombie
Boys.
Boys.
It's worth your time. It's worth your money. It's only $10.99
Yeah. I'm gonna pick
at
up
the
my
local
own copy.
comic store. It's definitely worth hanging on to and adding to your collection. So we definitely recommend it. So if you guys enjoyed this video, I'm going to link to our last Stranger Things review, which at the end of that, I link to the first Stranger Things review. So all 3 comics reviews are linked. But yeah, check them out. And we will be reviewing the sequel to Stranger Things 6 once it's complete. We have 3 more issues to come out.
And stay tuned for those novel reviews too. There's 3 of them.
Yes.
That are out.
Yep. And
Yeah.
I'm going to put those on you, sir.
Yes, oh, I know. Yeah, I read the first one, I started the second one, and then there's also a Runaway Sam novel as
We should
well.
just have you review that first one now while you're here.
It's
All right.
late on Super Bowl Sunday.
All right, so that's going to do it, you guys. If you enjoyed the video, click the like button and subscribe to make sure you don't miss other reviews like this going forward. I'm sure our Lock and Key series is done by the time that this is airing, so
that's right,
go
yeah.
back and check all of those. But that's going to do it. Thanks very much for watching. I've been Cecil Laird.
And gracias a Jaime and Fuego.
And remember, stay scared.